Let me take you through this program, which is Selling is Communication. It's the latest iteration of a program that's been around for over 20 years. So the structure of the program, first, obviously, we cover each of the key methodologies. For each of those, then we apply them in actual situations or situations that are germane to each of the participants, because we want to develop those four competencies that I'm going to address in a few minutes, but really to bring all participants to an optimal situation or a better situation. And very important is the fact that we help each participant define how they will apply the solutions because they make sense to them. So our methodology has been around for about 20 years now, but lately we've made some evolutions. We've changed a number of aspects of the program to make it even more effective in today's world. The first one is that we've updated the communication mindset. Everything is now built around four key competencies, and we build the program around that. Then we address each of the principles of each step in a bit of a different manner, and I'll explain that in just a few seconds. Then again, over the last 20 years, we've used behavior styles or other models that you know well, but we realized that motivations or self-based motivation seems to be better or simpler to use, so that's what now we use full time. Obviously, if any of our clients is already using another system or model that works, we will adapt and we will integrate that. And finally, we've updated the commitment part, so the gaining commitments, as well as the analysis of any interaction for participants, so that they get more in depth in the reasons why things have happened and how they need to adapt for the next interaction. Here's the story of this program. We call it the roadmap. We start with key fundamentals, one of which is the congruent mindset for communication, where we detail four key competencies that are necessary. Then we move into the You and I Do model itself, explaining each of the four steps and how those competencies feed into that. And then for each of the steps, we explain key principles or sub-methodologies that provide support for each of the step and in fact provide effectiveness for those steps. Over the past 30 years, we realized, working with thousands of communicators and also working on competency models with a number of our clients, that around, of course, the core set of values that people and corporations need to have and merge together, there are four key competencies that must always be present for anyone to be effective with communication skills. As you can see on the screen, they're accountability, adaptability, knowledge, and curiosity. So we help participants understand each of them and clarify how they each need to be applied to make them successful. Then we explain how the communication model works in general, and all I'm going to do here is use a phrase that one of our clients has shared with us years ago. We saw the You and I Do and how it worked, but she was really good at explaining how it made sense to her, because she said, you and me, you and I, must work together to actually accomplish something, to do something that has value for both of us. So you and I first need to work together before we can do anything. Those are the principles of this methodology, and obviously we're going to explain each of those steps a little bit later. So you and I do really tells a story. It starts with understanding what we're trying to accomplish. Then based on that, we identify more of the needs or the situations so that we can then discuss the proper solutions to then organize whatever needs to be accomplished. What you will notice here is that we put question marks on 15 of the 16 principles for each of those steps. All this means is that we want to put the onus, the responsibility, the accountability on the user of the model to always say, what should I be doing here to be effective? And that's what we insist upon during the program. So the first step is to understand. The 4 principles really focus on the preparation and adaptability, anticipating the discussion. As I said in a previous slide, we have now adopted the self-based motivation model instead of using any of the other very effective systems that are out there based on behavior or personality. The only reason we do that now is that we've noticed that it's simpler to use and it helps focus efforts on what really counts for the people involved rather than trying to match their personality at the moment. We're really focused on what is important to them for us to create solutions. The second step is then to identify the fact that we were correct in our understanding or to make sure that we actually do understand what may be happening or what may have happened between interactions. To do that, we need to ask questions, and that's the additional model that we have within those 4 principles, where we say these are the sequence of questions that will lead us to better understand what can be accomplished, and it really engages the people with whom we're interacting into that possible discussion on solutions. So after you and I are clear on what needs to be accomplished, we can then discuss solutions. And there's 3 sub-methodologies that I will explain in just a few seconds. Key methodologies for the discuss step are the following. First, we discuss trust and help participants understand how they can foster trust on both sides of the equation. Then we talk about building solutions, the classic feature benefit approach, to which we add self-based motivations and help participants understand how to phrase those benefits according to the motivations. And finally, the classic objection handling, because it happens in most sales situations, and you can see that what we have is simply going back to UIND, so understand, identify, and discuss, to fix or to find solutions to those objections or challenges. The organized step does 2 things. The first one is, and that's where we don't have a question mark, it says, explain where you gained commitment. So it implies that people will actually gain commitment. And then the rest of the principles are about doing a debrief with oneself. It's the results analysis sheet that you see on the left-hand side, which really digs more into what has been accomplished, why it worked, why it needs more effort. As I said earlier, the first principle of the organized step is to look at what commitments we've made. We actually know that for a lot of salespeople, especially, it is a challenge to gain some kind of commitment. So we're addressing that, and we're finding reasons why we are not comfortable with that, and then help participants see how it can actually be done in a very comfortable manner, in a logical manner. Then we simply provide guidance on how to progress to a commitment to something that will identify what is going to happen next time. What we do after each step is always an exercise that links back some of the key principles or the 4 principles of each step or main methodologies to the mindset to, again, help participants consolidate what needs to be put together, put in congruence, so that they can be as effective as possible. So we do that after each step. So our clients may opt for remote facilitation or live facilitation for this initial seminar or the introduction. Remotely, we have 5 sessions for 5 modules. They can be done in all kinds of different iterations, but we do suggest that everything is done within a week. So 1 session per day for 5 days in a row at 60 to 90 minutes a session. It is not taking too much of people's time. In the case of a live session, we usually go for 1.5 to 2 days, including a bit of a pre-work. And sometimes our clients prefer to have the pre-work done remotely, so before we do the live session, so that we consolidate some of the methodologies and the principles. Then we can put emphasis on practice during the 1.5 to 2 days that we have together. So we all understand that a 1 or 2 day program is not usually sufficient for people to integrate concepts and methodologies in their day-to-day activities. Yes, coaching is going to help, but we know that peer coaching in this case is going to be even more effective to, again, create those habits, create automatic responses to situations that are more effective, that produce better results. For the follow-up program to accomplish its objectives, it needs to be very well structured. Every session is specific on certain topics, and participants need to answer questions ahead of each session so we can actually exchange on the results they obtain from the application of the methodology. And as I said earlier, this is peer coaching. Participants teach their peers on how to apply the methodologies, not a facilitator, professional facilitator, but peers talk to each other about real situations. And what we do is we help, as a facilitator, I'm going to help participants focus on what they've done or what they need to do better and how doing it a certain way has accomplished the objectives and has made them more effective communicators. So we propose that every other week there is a session of about 60 minutes with groups of 10 participants, which most often are part of the same team, which encourages sharing of actual situations that make sense to all participants. We usually go from 6 to 8 sessions in total. That's how we can then consolidate habits and create more automatic ways of dealing with effective communication. So this again is the essentials of this program for effective communication, effective selling. It covers a mindset which has on which we focus 4 key competencies. Then we go through you and I do, and for each of the steps of the model, we add key principles and sub-methodologies. Thank you for your attention. We'll talk to you soon.